well. And I say that in reference to everything. Well. Internet's rubbish. Sorry, mate, guys and girls. It's one of those things. I'm sorry. Welcome to Cardiff City World. This is going to be a relatively short late night live. We're going to talk about the Cardiff City manager situation. And it's all becoming a bit farcical, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's all becoming a bit mentally tiring. I think the positivity and everything is being tested. It is just one of those things. Now, I've heard some stuff. I'm not going to lie. Like over the last couple of weeks, last week particularly, it's been weird, right? So the basic, I mean, this is pretty much out there anyway. Like, but the basic sort of timeline, like, remember Dalman came in weekend before last, where he did like the fan advisory board thing meeting. I think it was on a Friday maybe, and then wasn't at the game on the Saturday. However, was supposed to be meeting with Omer, Riza. Everyone was under the impression, at least media, journalists, fans, people, that he was coming in to speak to Omer, Riza, give him probably till the end of the season, but at least till the Christmas or something. But give him some sense of idea of what he was getting, short-term contract of some sort. And I think the majority of fans are kind of on board with that. But it never happened. The announcement didn't come. The manager doesn't, or Omer Riza doesn't know any different. Like he doesn't know where he is now. In somewhere along the lines, Cardiff have, I don't know whether you would say restarted, but there's certainly a push behind the scenes now, looking at other managers, and I think can be complicated by at least one team has come in for Omer Riza. Oh, let's be honest, he's not on a massive contract because he's on his coach's contract, which I think was 12 months or whatever. So he's easily bought out of that if he fancied it. It's all becoming a bit farcical. It is really, and I say it again, and I've said it time and time again. I've done full shows on it. I've talked about it in little things, and it's just ridiculous. Like, if you haven't got football people making football decisions, this is what you get. You just get a kind of stalemate of big bag of crap. No one knows where they stand. I'll tell you one thing, right? The way Cardiff City treat managers, mind, is shocking. Like, just as a human being, for him to not know where he stands now, after doing a relatively good job in the interim after Errol Bullitt was sacked, and to still not know all these weeks later whether he's got it, for a couple of months, wherever, like end of the season, or he's just not, or he's going, and as soon as we find a manager, even if he just knew that, at least he knows where he stands. I just think it's ludicrous. And unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, if you had a technical director, a director of football, whatever they want to call the position, if you had a team of football people making those decisions, we wouldn't be going into the second international break not knowing what the situation is. We just wouldn't, because whatever you say, it's not good for the football club, and it's certainly not good for taking things in the right direction on the football pitch. Now, I said when Errol Bullitt left, and I said in that first international break after he left, the season is nowhere near over. There's so many games left that if you get it right, whatever the decision is, you're perfectly capable and you've got enough time to get to the playoffs or have a very successful season. The longer you leave it, the more of a risk it becomes. Because the problem you've got now on one side is whoever you bring in is a risk. Because the players seem to be generally, I would say, behind Omer Riza. So if you kind of bin him off, you're certainly gonna upset the apple cart. You might really upset a few. I don't know, but like, it's just the lack of direction is incredible for a group of successful businessmen, and I refer to the owner, the chairman, the Kenneth Cho, whatever is, the board or whatever, Steve Borley, all these people, they're successful businessmen. Away from football, they're all successful, very, very successful businessmen. And I cannot fathom that they would run their other businesses like this. I cannot get my head around it, why that the most complex and unique business out of all the businesses they have is treated with such disdain and just apparent lack of care. And I will never grasp it. Never grasp it. Now, on the football side of things, I think Omer Riza has done a decent job in difficult conditions. I think he's made mistakes. I think tactically there's a few issues with like plan B, and if things aren't working initially, him being able to change a game tactically. But that's also something that can be adjusted with him still there. Whether you bring in an experienced coach or you bring in just someone who's very, very tactically astute to work with him to help him with those situations, because he's learning on the job. I also believe that it's a risk because he is learning on the job, and there's a few tactical issues. There's no plan B. So of course that side of it is a risk. But equally, one of the biggest parts of running any team, but particularly in sport, is getting that team all on the same page, pulling in the same direction, and working for you, willing to run through a brick wall for you. That's half the battle. Tactics side of things, I think you can put things in place like any good business to address them, to support them, to get them right without like completely rocking the boat. Now, I see a couple of people mentioning the consultancy. Right, let me tell you something. The fact that Cardiff City in 2024 are paying managers who haven't had a job in God knows how long within football, and when they did have a job, 2 of them was at Cardiff, and they were absolute shit show, up there with the worst managers in the modern day times for City. And we're paying them a fortune in consultancy fees to tell us what we already know. You can't tell me that those consultants are giving us anything that any real football mind already understands. You just can't. Everything's at the touch of a finger. You can watch every minute of every game. You can get clips if you've got the right software and scouting software and things. You can get clips of any player at any level at the touch of a button. You can get information about managers. You can get scout reports. Like, why are you paying thousands and thousands of pounds to people who've already failed you? You've had to sack them because they were so bad. You have to excuse me, I'm losing my voice because I've been at my son's football. It's infuriating, and I'm bored of it. Like, make a decision and then put everything in place to support that decision. If that means Omer Riza stays till the end of the season, great. Let's give him someone who amplifies what he's already doing and helps him with some of the weaknesses that the club, I'm sure, are worried about. And maybe that's where there's a bit of hesitation with him. Or give him the full job. But make a decision, or don't give him the job and give it to someone else. But make a decision and back that decision. And if you bring a new manager in, you let him pick his coaches. If he wants to keep Omer Riza, great. If he doesn't, fine. But you have to make a decision and take the club forward, because we're at a standstill at the moment. And as much as I think Omer Riza has done a good job, I think his hands are tied behind his back now for him to be able to take it forward. I don't understand what changed when they came in to speak to him about staying on for a bit. other than they want a name. They wanted a name from the start. They want someone who, from the outside the world or the footballing world, is going to be like, let's do it. Like, wow, what a decision by Cardiff. It's poor, absolute poor. And I would love to know the statistics on clubs who don't have a director of football or a technical director or a football structure. A lot of clubs these days, they have like a technical director, and then they have a team under that person, which works in between the sort of board and the coaches. So you have a whole team. Cardiff doesn't have anyone. They have the board, and then they have the manager. And what's his head? Like Wayne Nash. That's it. That's the Championship Football Club in 2024. And then we wonder why we're not able to keep a manager longer than 18 months. And you wonder why you've got all this talent, but you can't utilize it and get the best out of it. It's infuriating. And my fault, my issue with it is, right, is there's ex-Cardiff City players who are building a reputation for themselves as excellent footballing minds. Just as an example, Stephen McPhail building himself a fantastic reputation as a coach and as a footballing man. He could be a potential, I don't know, like a coach, a technical director. Brian Barry Murphy, still a free agent. I did a video on him in the summer and said we should do everything we can to get him on board in some way, whether it was a director of football, technical director, a first team coach, assistant manager, whatever it is. Get him in and let him build an empire. But we're just not interested. And it's difficult to think, or difficult to not to hypothesize that the owner is literally waiting for the Salah civil case to be settled so he can take that money and sell the football club. It's very difficult to not think that that's the plan, because there certainly doesn't seem to be a plan to take the football club forward on the football pitch or off it. And I get it, like, everyone's got an opinion. It's the world we live in with social media. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody thinks they're right and the rest of it. And most people, I think, probably think Rhys has done enough to get to the end of the season. I do, to a certain extent, but I'm not against them bringing in certain managers. At the moment, the kind of names that I've heard the most likely to be coming, other than Omer Riza, I'm going to butcher his name, Eric Hornland, who was the Brann boss in Norway. Came out of nowhere, really, but we at least had a conversation with him fairly recently. He is underwhelming, I got to say. Like, he's got a fairly decent recent reputation. Started off very poorly, adjusted his tactics, adjusted to a less pressing style, because initially he was all out press and it wasn't working, so he kind of eased that a little bit, and he's got the best out of it, and it's defensively very good now. Another name is Slaven Bilic. I think Slaven Bilic ticks quite a few boxes. I saw a lot of people saying like he's just another Bullet. He's very tactically, in some ways he's similar to Bullet, but he's very focused on building that bridge from the 23s to the first team. He always has. He's well known for it. He plays a similar system, which everyone plays, 4-2-3-1. But you speak to West Brom fans, they thought he was fantastic, got him promoted, maybe less successful since. Did all right at West Ham. Obviously, very, very experienced, but he likes working with young players. That is something which appeals to me. Steven Schumacher, excellent young manager, playing style which is based on real quick passing and moving, lots of rotations, likes to have that third man run, likes to exploit space, usually uses a back four, but could use a back three. Is very tactically flexible, likes to play football the right way. But yeah, he's like relatively inexperienced, but a very highly rated manager. Has had a conversation with Cardiff, same as Slaven Bilic. Omer Rhys, obviously we've seen, and I think his audition has gone relatively well. I think there's been elements of it he could have done better. I think if I was working in the medical department, I'd be asking a couple of questions about the lack of rotation in some cases for certain players who've had like a bit of an injury sort of history. But apart from that, I think he's been pretty good. Players are on side with him, so why wouldn't you keep it going for the time being? But give him some stability by telling him what's happening. And you've got Mark Robbins has entered the fray this week. He's a fascinating one for me because wasn't available, was he? And now he is. But what I like about him, which I think could work potentially with this team quite well, is he likes a three at the back. He likes a sort of like a three at the back, then four across, a nice little number 10 and two up front. I think we've got a lot of players who suit that system. Maybe none the two up front, because I'm not sure we could find two strikers to play up front. But these are the kind of names which are being chucked about. And in my opinion, the reason why we haven't brought in Steven Schumacher, who we could have brought in at any point, apparently had a very impressive interview, did very well, spoke well, knew the players, knew what he wanted to do. The reason we haven't brought in someone like that, or Ryan Lowe, or all these different names that have been mentioned, is because the people at the top of the club, or the person at the top of the club, wants a big name. Well, big names mean fuck all, mate. It's about what you can do on the pitch. And sometimes you just discover like a diamond who, you know, some of these managers over the years, your Mourinho's, and they just appear out of nowhere. Why couldn't Rhys potentially be that? I'm not saying he's as good as those people, but like he's made a good start. So let's give him, even if you don't want to give him to the end of the season, because you view it as such a, if I'm the club and I think, right, I like what Omar's done, but I think I'm not sure if he's the guy. I don't really want to tie us into the end of the season, because if it all goes wrong, we're going to pay him off and blah, blah, blah. And then the season's in real big trouble. Give him till Christmas and say to him privately, we're going to give you till Christmas. If you can continue to build on what you've already done, then we'll talk about giving you the job for a bit of a longer period. If it doesn't work out, we'll part ways. We'll bring in Slaven Bilic, who we know is available in January, and certain members of the board like him, and he wants the job. That to me is a plan. It's a plan that protects the football team, a plan that moves the football club forward, and it's a plan that if things aren't going to plan, like on the pitch, you've got an issue. Like you're not gonna get rid of him in January and think, right, well, who the bloody hell are we going to bring in? Well, you've got Bilic waiting there. And if you don't need Bilic in January, that means that things are going very, very well. So great. I saw a lot of people saying, give Omer Rhys the job, give it to him to the end of the season, but give him an experienced assistant manager or first team coach. I don't think it has to be experienced. What it has to be is tactically astute, tactically clever and flexible, and someone who can view the game differently to Omer Rhys and say, that's not working, let's change this, and let's play with this system, or let's utilize this player in this area, or that's not working, let's change this. And having that tactically clever person, Jonathan has said in the chat, I just noticed that there's a lot of comments coming in, so I apologize. I will try and get to them in a minute before I finish up. My voice goes completely. See if I can bring it up on the screen. Internet is so slow, bros. He basically says, bring Brian Barry Murphy in as the assistant manager. Couldn't agree more. Having someone like that in with Omer Riza is almost the perfect scenario. And you even have the almost backup option that if you do decide Omer Riza's not the guy, you've got Brian Barry Murphy in your flipping on your staff already to take it over. It's insane to me the way the football clubs run. And I'm sure if they sat here now, they'd all have answers for everything, and it would sound all lovely. But I think at this point, we all kind of see through it. Like, you can't tell me, and I've said this before, and I will say it again for the 300 plus people who are watching, right? Vincent Tan is a multi-millionaire. He's seen more money than I will ever make or see. He, in his casino business, which is his like flourishing business, doing exceptionally well. You cannot tell me that he's got, let's just plug a name out. Mick McCarthy, he's not working for him in his casino or in his casino businesses and doing all that. Do you know why? Because he'll have the best casino manager or the best person to oversee his casino businesses and take them forward that he can get. And any other businesses he's got, he'll have the best people from those fields to take them forward. So why, in the ever-loving, have we not got somebody who's like an expert in football? Or do you know what? Even better, because there's lots of people who think they're experts in football. How about we get an expert in recruitment and an expert in scouting and an expert in analysis and an expert in taking, like, technical director who can take the club forward from top to bottom without restructuring everything, but can take everything in the same direction. No, we're just going to leave it to a bunch of businessmen who aren't at the game and aren't at the club, right? But who's going to run the club day to day? Oh, we don't need that. We're just a championship club, you know. We want to be in the Premier League, but we're going to act like a non-league club. I feel sorry for the people who are there day to day, because they are just left to it. For me, I think it's I just think ultimately, right, there's no one on that board who is what I would consider a football expert. There's no one on that board, particularly, with the greatest of respect, who I'd say, like, you're a football guy. And I'm not saying anything about them individually or personally. Like, they are what they are. They're all, you know, very good at what they do. But football's so different. And it's becoming more and more shambolic. And we are becoming a laughing stock off the pitch. And for me, like, my honest opinion is that at the moment, I would say Rhys till the end of the season. But I'm not massively convinced. Like, I'm not like all in on Omer Rhys. I think a big part of my kind of thoughts or my feelings that he probably is the best option is because the players are so on board with it. Like, I don't think sometimes people quite realise how difficult it is to get that much of a percentage of those players behind him so quickly, and for them to come out publicly and say it as well, like that is a massive thing. And also, like, let's be honest, Omar Rhys has got probably the cheapest option, so you think that would appeal to our club. Paul says, have Omar Rhys and Slaven Bilic worked together before? Do you know, mate? I don't know that, and I will find out, or I'll try to. If you've got any questions, guys, get them in. I will do my best to answer them. I'm not going to be on you for a great deal longer, just because my voice is going more and more. I have got the evening off tomorrow because the boys have got flower hour, and tomorrow night on the flower hour they've got a guest, ex-Carmarthen manager Neil Smothers coming on, so that should be a good chat. We've got the Cymru and Birth podcast with myself and Harry on Thursday. We'll have the Wales preview Friday. We'll have some sort of match reaction Saturday, the breakdown Sunday. Question of Cardiff City as well will be coming. If you're a member, you've already checked it out. If you have checked it out, let me know what you thought. Something very different, as we did a full game show. Team of Abandonato versus Team Terry Phillips. It was a lot of fun to do. For those of you who have watched it, let me know what you thought. Ooh. So Paul says, Offshan Roberts has assisted to Riza. I think he's very happy out in I think it's Spain, isn't it? He's there. Yeah. Lewis says, I think Riza may walk if they don't say anything to him during the international break. Yeah, mate, do you know what, right? Regardless, right, of whether they want him, they don't want him, whatever, the lack of communication is mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing that unless he's playing the game, right? Unless they've like he's playing the game to the media and he knows exactly where he stands and he's just trying to maybe apply a little bit of pressure to perhaps, you know, get the job or something like that. I don't know. Has there been a disagreement over money? Does he want more? I don't know. I haven't heard anything along those lines. And to be honest with you, it's scary, like the lack of footballing minds at a football club. And I think it's starting to really show because, like, look at the state of the football club. Jonathan says, Dalman's one honest thing I think he said is Tan has the final say in everything, so he doesn't trust anyone's opinion but his own. Yeah, I mean, that's an absolute fact. Like, remember Dalman's the chairman who can't make a decision. He's got no power. So what's the point? And I would like ultimately, right? The board could all want one. They'll say this board could all want Omar Riza. But Vincent Tan could turn around and say, no, I want Mick McCarthy, or I want Steve Morrison. Steve Morrison, or I want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And he gets the final say and he'll go against the board. But what I care about and what you care about is Cardiff City. We care about Cardiff City, the future of the football club. We care about the games week to week, the teams. We care about the dwindling crowds. Now, of course, the dwindling crowds have got a big part to do with these stupid kickoff times. But it's also the disillusionment of the way the football clubs run. And I'm so sick of seeing stuff, sort of something drag out that's so very fixable. It wouldn't take a lot fix what is required to move the club forward. Not saying it's an overnight fix. I'm saying that the things you need to put in place to move the football club forward, and not like it's not like 100 million things you've got to do. There's managers out there. Jeff says Mark Di Matteo, Scott Parker were interim managers who went on to do well. Yeah, in fairness, I think we've Van Nistelrooy, Dan Lowe says. I think, to be fair, we've had our fingers burnt a little bit with interim managers. So I understand the reluctance to not give it to him on a permanent basis. But the reluctance to give him any semblance of stability or idea of what he's doing is wild. And I think it's a real shoddy, poor way to treat a human being, to be honest with you. Jonathan says, Schumacher, Ryan Lowe, Gary Rowett have all said they'd love the Cardiff job. And do you know what, mate? All three of them are managers that I rate in different ways. In order of who I prefer out of those three, I prefer Schumacher. I've always said I thought Steven Schumacher would be an excellent choice. I know, for instance, Paul Abbandonato doesn't agree with me. He thinks that he'd get swallowed up by it. But I think he's a real tactically excellent manager. I think Gary Rowett is decent. I think he upsets people, though, and I'm not sure he'd work with the board. Ryan Lowe, I like. He plays nice football. Dan Lowe is bang on the Van Nistelrooy train now. He's followed his previous tweet up with Van Nistelrooy is the big name after all, which they want. Yeah, I mean, Di Matteo, Gus Poyet, all these different people. Not Di Matteo, sorry. Gus Poyet. Mark Robbins is an interesting one. Whilst there's certain things that appeal about him, and I think he did a tremendous job at Coventry, I've got a feeling that he might end up being a manager who, like Nathan Jones, who kind of at his club was very good, but when he went elsewhere and maybe it didn't work out. Yeah, they won't. The fans wouldn't be on board for Gary Rowett's tactics, let's be honest. Oscar. Yeah, right. Last couple of minutes if you want to ask any questions, because I'm getting swallowed up by my throat, just getting worse. And guys, look, I know there's like nearly 400 people watching, right? And I know there's people of all ages and genders and whatever. I apologize if you're not down for the odd swear words that it sneaks out and all that sort of stuff, right? But fact is, and I've said this before and I say it again, the one thing you will get with me and my shows and my content and both my channels is I will be real and I will be honest. And if I'm talking about something that I'm passionate about, I ain't gonna beat around the bush. And sometimes I'm gonna get it a bit heated, a bit carried away, but I'll never dodge it. And I'll say it, call it what it is. And at the moment, it's an absolute shambles. And until it's sorted, it's going to be a problem. And you know what frustrates me the most is I think our squad's pretty good. I think we're like 2 signings away from being very good. I think we haven't got the depth at the moment. I think if everyone's fit, our first 11 is very good. I think we struggle after that. Like we haven't got a striker. We need someone similar to Robinson. I saw someone, I did a scout report on him as well. I saw someone right at the start of the show. I can't go back at the comments now, but someone said, get Al Hamidi on loan. Al Hamidi in Omer Rhys's system would absolutely rock for Cardiff. Honestly, he would absolutely cook. I can't remember who said it. So whoever said it was a great shout. I did a scout report on him previously. He is very, very good. I think we need a striker in January, whether it's a loan, it probably is a loan. Like part of me thinks we need a right back. But then part of me thinks just call back Raheem Conte. And you've still got Rinamoto, and you've still got, I want to see these young players getting a chance. I've got to be honest, because I think they can give us a bit of depth that we lack. I think we need a striker most of all, maybe a left winger. Or we either need a left winger, so we've got an Ollie Tanner out on the left, who's like lightning quick, or we need to get Bagan in at left back, or Louis Giles in at left back, or Jamal Collins in at left back, and get O'Dowda up on the wing. Honestly, what I would like to see is a winger who could play both sides and is lightning quick. Peterborough have got two of them in Ricky J. Jones and Poku. I said in the summer I'd test the bank for either. Ricky J. Jones played through the middle as well, but Poku's like scared. They're both young, fast, skillful, prolific in Joe J. Jones's thing. And I just feel that like we're not far off. Like, we just need to get the manager, the coach, everything in place. The playing staff's there. The facilities are there. The infrastructure in the city is there. The city is there. The capital of Wales. Everything's in place for this football club to move us in the right direction, except the actual freaking football club. But what can we do? Like, until the owner changes, or until someone within his inner circle or his board can get through to him. Because in fairness to certain members of that board, I know that they have told him time and time again that we need a technical director, or we need like football people doing the football side. Because I get it. People are not a fan of Tan and Dalman and Kenneth Cho. If they just went and run the business side, and we brought in some football people to run the football side, and they left each other alone, wicked. I think that could work beautifully. And I think that's a structure that we'll see more and more, a bit like what United have just started with Ineos and the Glazers. Like, one does the business, one does the football. They have very little to do with each other day to day. I think it can work. But like, who's in charge of Cardiff City Monday to Friday? Anyone? Is it a free-for-all? Just like people, like, it's a mad thing, man. Mad thing. Jonathan says Jamal Collins is the one player that doesn't get along with Riza. And then Dan says, how do we know that? It can't just be because he isn't playing. He hasn't been in the squad at all, has he? So that in itself is probably an indication that there's something going on. But honestly, with the like, and look, right, Omer Rhys on the football side of things, Omer Rhys clearly believes we haven't got enough depth, because when we needed to change the game on Saturday, he made one sub. And we talked the other week about modern football and the annoying thing of like everybody making 3 subs on sort of 60, 70 minutes. It's insane. Like, so the manager obviously thinks that the depth isn't there to change the game. And I will say this, I know people maybe get fed up of the Reindorf conversation, but I understand he might not be ready. But like, Reindorf off the bench, straight, like the second we scored against Blackburn to make it 2-1, the second that ball hit the net, if we'd have been able to put Reindorf on by the time they kicked off, I just think he'd have caused a bit of mayhem. And he can't be any worse than what we've had up front when Robinson's not there anyway. So for me, it's a no-brainer. I apologise. It's been a bit all over the place in terms of subjects. I'll give like 30 seconds now for any quick questions, and then we'll call it a night for the day. Tomorrow night, the Flower Hour, 9:00. They'll be joined by former Carmarthen and town manager Neil Smothers. Thursday night, the Cymru and Build podcast, where myself and Harry will look forward to the international break with Wales. Friday will be the Wales preview versus Turkey. Sunday will be the breakdown. Saturday night, we'll have the 1927 pod. Monday night will be either the Cardiff City phone-in or some semblance. I'm not sure what Steve said it is. They're doing the Cardiff City phone-in next week, because they sometimes don't do it in the international break. If they don't, then we'll have Question of Cardiff City for the public on Monday. Why not? Paul, we'll finish on that, mate. You are absolutely spot on. It is an absolute disgrace that our director's box is empty every single home game. Is what it is. Is what it is. Guys, ironically, I've probably got some interesting interviews coming up on the channel soon. Maybe that'll change now. Who knows? But stuff's coming, no matter what. We got loads of cool stuff coming up on the build up to Christmas. My computer's frozen, so I'm gonna have to keep talking until I can end the show anyway. But we got loads of cool stuff. It's Cardiff City content 7 days a week, and the more people who join the members group member side of it, the more content we'll do. The more specials, the more additional content each day. It's Steve Borley's always there as well. Mark Brown says, I thought Si was going to chuck us a bone tonight. What do you want to know, mate? I'm feeling a bit loose-lipped at the moment because I'm emotional. So you ask me a question and I'll give you an honest answer as far as I'm aware. But you got to do it quick because I'm losing my voice and my computer's frozen. But I'll wait for that to come in. We got some cool stuff coming up in the build up to Christmas. We got some real cool stuff, including a little tribute to Peter Whitnam, and we got some good stuff, some ex-players and stuff like that coming on as well. Who's going to be the manager? Who do I think? Okay, I'll tell you this. Based on things that I've heard, I'll put it another way, right? Because I don't want to be that kind of in the know guy. This is, I put a bet on. I'm going phone. About a month ago, I put a bet on Slaven Bilic to be the next Cardiff City manager. I'm still fairly confident that will be the case. Jeff. So Jeff says, why didn't Steve Borley say something? In fairness to Steve Borley, I think it's difficult for him because I think he's probably fairly limited in what he can say. He does say some stuff he used to say some stuff on Twitter, but just is what it is, isn't it? I just think Bilic, for me, I'm not saying he's like the perfect candidate, but I just think when you look at what you want, he probably ticks the most boxes. He's experienced but not old. Tactically intelligent. He works really well with young players, and he likes to bring players into from the 23s into the first team. I just think that he kind of ticks the most boxes. It is what it is. Yeah, the bookies will pay out after Rhys for 10 games. Mate, I don't think either way, whether it's Bilic or anyone else, I don't think that Omer Rhys will be a great deal longer. I just think like if they had if they were fully confident in him, they'd have given him the job now till the end of the summer. Like, what more could he have done? There's nothing more he could have done. Like, it's unrealistic to think he's going to go and win every game. Yeah, like I said, Paul, I feel sorry for Steve Borley, but it's just where the club is at the moment. I know, not to do with Steve. I know that certain members of the board have asked repeatedly for either a football structure or a director of football to be in place, probably for at least the last 3 years. I know this for a fact, but it's the owner who makes those decisions. I do think there's a risk, Jonathan, that I think Omer Rhys has got to be careful to not run some of the players into the ground. And that was my point about felt like he's been learning as he goes along. But I thought we looked leggy against West Brom after playing 3 games in a week. And I thought we looked leggy against Luton Town. And that was the second game of 3 in a week. And I just felt like Tanner and Colwell, El Ghazi, all 3 of them looked leggy. El Ghazi has looked perfect for the last 2 games after about 20 minutes. I just think give him a go off the bench and just refresh it a bit. And maybe that's difficult because Robinson was out, but he's got to find the plan B, and we have to find a way to be able to play without Callum Robinson, whatever that may be. And that's what I mean about giving him some support. If he's going to be the guy, give him support. And if he's not the guy, let's get the bloody guy in, is it? Guys, I appreciate you all. A good number of people watching, over 400 and odd something watching tonight live. Appreciate you all. Thank you very much. Please make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. 7 days a week of Cardiff City content, which will only become more and more the more people who subscribe and join and all that good stuff. Members, don't forget to let me know what you think of the Question of Cardiff City game show. And the rest of you, that'll be out soon. Appreciate you all. Nice one. I'm off the bed to rest my voice in a bit.